ESPN 888-729-3776. What would be the biggest upset of Super Wild Card Weekend? Dr. Pepper Twitter feed at Key J and Max. Okay, now we're going A to Z. The Lakers lose to the Kings 125-116. De'Aaron Fox dropped 29.
Who?
Chimezie Metu made a clutch three-pointer with 46.7 seconds remaining, and the Kings ended their longest losing streak of the season with a 125-116 win over the Los Angeles Lakers, who had title aspirations when this season began. On Wednesday, LeBron James had 34, now has 410 points in his last 12 games, his most over a 12-game span since the 09-10 season. The Lakers have lost two straight after a 4-game win streak. Here is Carmelo Anthony earlier this week on the Lakers still trying to figure each other out.
Just from the standpoint of, starting off slow and having new guys on the team, new system, guys trying to figure it out, guys trying to figure out how to play with, LeBron and AD, and then now incorporating the Russ, and just everybody just, figuring out what their role is. What made it beautiful for the Bucks was that it was, once it came together, and you've seen what happened with that.
Well, we need to hurry up and figure it out, and it needs to hurry up and come together, because otherwise, it's all for nothing, man. We're gonna be a laughing stock of the league in a minute.
Yo, Russell Westbrook is 0 of 15 from the three-point line over his last 6 games, man. And
he knows it too.
I got a crazy stat for you. Defenders are averaging their space between him and defenders of 8.3 feet. So people are sitting in the lane while my man's on the three-point line saying, go ahead, shoot it. So what does that do? That clogs the lane for LeBron James. Look, they have some real issues they need to figure out around Russ. And I know you're always going to say, Max,
yes,
you're lying. Don't worry. Russ always figures it out.
I'm worried.
And I'm going to tell you, Max, I don't know, because Russ has never won a championship. So you tell me he's going to figure it out, but that's never him figuring it out has never led to him winning a championship.
Totally legit what you're saying. What I'm saying is this. When the playoff starts, a separate issue, we'll see. Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 4 times, shame on me. This is the 4th straight year. Just go back to what you were thinking in the first half of 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. He was terrible. Russell Westbrook was a losing player in the first half. In the second half, always with new teammates, always with new team, he caught fire. Let him figure it out.
I know you're doubling down.
I am. I'm tripling down.
This is not Kansas City's defense. Like, you won that argument. I hear you, but this is something different. And do you think of the Lakers as tough or more soft?
They're not tough yet.
Okay.
They're not tough yet, but give them time. Like,
where's AD? How much time do we need?
Well, you know what that
is. Well, the question was that you got AD because LeBron's getting older, and he was going to be that. So, like, there's things that you're starting to say, hey, there's history here. We're starting to look at.
We got a lot of issues that we need to fix. Westbrook is one of them, and there's more issues other than Westbrook.
You think the Suns are a pretty good team?
Yeah, I think they're.
I will remind you that last year, coming off a finals where either LeBron or AD could have been finals MVP because they won the championship, the Lakers were clearly better than the Suns in the playoffs until injury took its toll and they weren't really the Lakers anymore. Yeah. Suns beat them. Otherwise, Lakers would have beaten them.
Where does this team rank defensively?
I get it, but
I know, I hear it, but you know why on that team?
Because
they had Alex Caruso.
That's real. That's real.
And KCP.
That's real.
You had 2 lockdown wing defenders. You don't really have that now.
You're right. I can't argue with that. I'm just saying.
And some would say they missing Jason Kidd, believe it or not.
You jumping ship, Key? Yes or no on the Lakers right now?
I'm never gonna jump ship.
No, but
I'm just mad.
I don't mean as a fan. I'm saying, are you giving up hope?
No, never.
Me neither.
Never. I ain't gonna never do that.
Can you imagine a separation of 8.3 feet?
Yeah, he's gonna make him pay for that. Westbrook's gonna make him pay for that.
Key. You're a professional. You
knock it down though. You give me that space, I'm gonna hit it on you.
All right. Ben Simmons' agent.
98 beat the Sixers for the first time in 17 tries. Lakers had a 4-1 homestand on the road taking on Sacramento. LeBron James and Malik Monk firing in the first half, combining for 29 points, 6 of 10 from 3, and 6 assists. Monk, really interesting story. He's like, man, nobody in the league wants me, huh? Okay. All right. I'm gonna get my buckets and I'm gonna get that bag, and eventually, showing out in transition. Monk off glass. to the ageless when LeBron and the Lakers are up 2. That's the score here when De'Aaron Fox ties it up with a drive down the lane. Kings create a turnover. Let's run. Tyrese Halliburton. He finishes. And all of a sudden, the Kings, in the blink of an eye, are up double digits after 3. Lakers trying to hang in it. LeBron, runner through the lane, keeping them within arm's length. Then Harrison Barnes, tough drive with a left. The lead's back to 9. 6-point game. Marvin Bagley, strip, Monk, coast to coast. Timeout, let's talk about it. Chimezie Metu, all alone. Big-time bucket at a big-time spot. And Sacramento knocks off the Lakers, who fall back to 500, 125-116. LeBron can't shoulder much of the blame in this one. He led both teams with 34, including a dozen in the fourth quarter. Wednesday, his 30th game of the season. 872 points are the second most in his entire career through 30 games, trailing only his total in 2005-2006 as a 21-year-old man. Always enjoy our visits from Tim Legler in studio. And off air earlier, we joked about how you really haven't been asked, I guess I should say, to talk a whole lot about Chicago, which is surprising.
I was ready to dive in tonight.
Well, no, you don't get that opportunity because Brooklyn demonstrates that they arrived in one of those moods, like, oh, you guys want to go tonight? What tells you that it's tonight's a different 48 minutes on the clock for them?
I can guarantee you this: January 12th at Chicago game for Brooklyn earlier in the year was not a topic of conversation in the Nets locker room. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes as a team, you're looking for that one signature game that can galvanize your team, and it clearly. This was the moment, and it happened at halftime of this game because what Brooklyn did defensively in the third quarter was that moment where they were sending a message to a team that's saying, okay, this has been great. You're a great story. You're a really good team. And I actually think Chicago can be a little bit of a noisemaker in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But Brooklyn came out with a totally different intensity defensively that when you see them play that hard, they're almost unbeatable with the offensive talent that they have with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and the way they played tonight.
And but Kyrie on the road.
Correct. And Kyrie still hasn't found his legs, hasn't found his rhythm. They're waiting on that. But in the meantime, it's just kind of one of those moments where you kind of, look around at each other. They're in a 2-point game at halftime on the road with this team that's feeling good about themselves, the way they close the second quarter, and you come out and you make it an alley fight, and it's bare-knuckle boxing, and Brooklyn went to a place that Chicago could not match. So there's no doubt that Chicago brought something out of them. You can see the reaction on the bench. This game might carry a little bit of significance for Brooklyn going forward. And now you get Kyrie 6 out of 9 coming up available because they're all road games. Right. That's important too. Maybe he finds his rhythm.
Durant, 27 on 10 shots. I very casually say during highlights when we have the Nets, this is best player in the world. What to you demonstrates that's who he is? Because
there is no matchup defensively that ever looks comfortable from the head coach's perspective.
Right.
Okay, that's what it is. He has an answer for anything. Whatever the situation requires, he answers it. He may be the greatest mid-range player, of his generation, certainly, and one of the greatest of all time. And you don't win championships, Scott, unless you've got guys that can dominate 12 to 18 feet. And that's where Kevin Durant destroys you because of his ability to get to a spot, rise up with a perfect stroke at 6'11", and there's nothing you can do. So he makes pressure look comfortable. So most guys, when you watch a game, you go, okay, wow, that's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for that player. Nothing is uncomfortable for him, and that's what makes him the best to do it right now.
We're going to talk to Woj a little bit later about the situation in Philly as it relates to Ben Simmons, but we showed you what Joel Embiid is doing. He is carrying this team. What do you think organizationally, how are they letting Embiid down with him having to be in this spot with Simmons just in limbo?
Well, you've got Joel Embiid playing at an MVP level. No one's been better in the league in the last 2 weeks. He's in his prime. He's missed a lot of time throughout his career. You almost feel like it's a matter of time before maybe something else happens. And the guy's going out there, and I think you get a false sense of security with this winning streak because of who they're beating. They had one signature win in the entire stretch, and that was against Brooklyn. So to send him out there every night, when you've got an all-star caliber talent at home and you've done nothing to replace that talent or production, because I think you overvalued Ben Simmons from the get-go when you went into the market. Now, maybe Daryl Morey is waiting on some teams to hit a slide in January and start calling him. teams that haven't made guys available. I guess he's waiting on that, but I think he's painted himself into a corner with what he thinks he's getting back. I think they've overvalued that from the beginning, and you're going to see them end up, I think, making a trade to get guys that they probably could have gotten in the summer. And in the meantime, you went out there and you played half a season or more without an all-star caliber player on the floor next to Joel Embiid. I think it's a disservice to him.
You make an interesting point because he's